Have you ever been stopped short, realizing a lack of understanding has created a real hurdle for you? Maybe you've struggled to follow a complicated recipe, or perhaps a seemingly simple instruction at work led to a really time-consuming mistake.
Yeah, those moments happen.
Those moments, big or small, they really shine a light on how crucial education is, not just in some abstract way, but like in our everyday lives.
That's a perfect way to frame it, actually. Today, we're taking a deep dive into why education is just so fundamental.
Right.
It's not just about getting a degree or, landing a job. It's truly the bedrock for personal growth and building a better future for ourselves and, well, our communities too.
And we're using a specific source for this.
We are. Our guide for this exploration is Dr. Dennis V. Burke's book, Education: The Key to a Better Future. It's a work that really unpacks the intricacies of learning, teaching, and their profound impact on individuals and society.
Okay, so when we talk about education, what exactly does Dr. Burke lay out as the core definition? It can feel like such a big, all-encompassing idea.
It really can. The book defines education as the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and fostering overall development through dedicated study or practical experience.
Okay, study or practice.
Right. And it's also the academic discipline that examines teaching methods and the challenges inherent in the educational process itself.
Ah, so the theory behind it too.
Exactly. What's particularly insightful, I think, is the source's emphasis on the dynamic relationship between learning and teaching. As the book states, by teaching, we learn.
That rings so true.
Doesn't it? Think about it. When you have to explain something to someone else, you often solidify your own understanding in the process.
Absolutely. When you have to articulate an idea clearly, you really have to know it inside and out. The book also breaks down education into different forms, right?
Yes, it identifies 3 key forms. Formal education, which is, the structured learning we experience in schools and universities.
The typical classroom stuff.
Then there's informal education, the continuous learning that happens just through our daily experiences and interactions.
Life lessons, basically.
Sort of, yeah. And self-education, which is the pursuit of knowledge driven purely by our own curiosity and research.
Okay.
And these different avenues contribute to a well-rounded development, fostering academic knowledge, practical skills, and vital social intelligence.
Got it.
But the overarching goal, it remains the same. To empower individuals to learn effectively, grow as individuals, acquire essential knowledge and skills, and truly discover and cultivate their unique talents.
It's a much richer tapestry than just, memorizing facts and dates.
It's richer.
Now, the book delves into something called the 4 Pillars of Education from UNESCO. That sounds like a pretty foundational concept.
It is indeed. Dr. Burke highlights this framework as particularly relevant for navigating the complexities of the 21st century.
Okay.
The first pillar is learning to know. Now, this isn't just about absorbing information.
Right.
It's about acquiring fundamental knowledge and skills, but maybe even more importantly, developing that crucial ability to learn how to learn.
Metacognition. Maybe we can come back to that.
Exactly. And also learning to think critically and to become effective problem solvers.
So it's not about being a walking encyclopedia.
Not at all.
But about becoming your own best researcher and problem solver, which is like the ultimate skill for navigating an ever-changing world, isn't it?
That's it. Precisely.
That makes total sense. It's about equipping yourself with the tools to learn pretty much anything. What's the next pillar then?
The second is learning to do. This shifts the focus more towards gaining practical skills and the necessary knowledge for both employment and active participation in society.
Okay, the practical side.
Yeah. This includes things like being comfortable and capable with technology, working effectively as part of a team, and having strong self-management abilities. These are the skills that allow us to translate knowledge into action in the real world.
Absolutely essential in today's, collaborative and tech-driven environment. What about the third pillar?
The third pillar is learning to live together. This emphasizes developing the capacity to live peacefully and harmoniously with others, regardless of their backgrounds or beliefs.
That sounds crucial right now.
It really is. It involves cultivating an understanding of different cultures, developing skills in conflict resolution, and building strong and positive interpersonal relationships. In an increasingly interconnected and sometimes, polarized world, this pillar is more vital than ever.
It really underscores the social responsibility aspect of education, doesn't it?
It does.
And the final pillar,
The fourth is learning to be. This is about fostering the holistic development of each individual's unique talents and abilities, aiming for a well-rounded person.
Okay.
It includes cultivating self-awareness, setting meaningful personal and professional goals, and ultimately striving to achieve one's full potential.
Let's bring it all together for the individual.
Yes. The source emphasizes that these four pillars, working together, provide a really relevant, engaging, and effective educational framework for our modern times.
Now, the book also talks about rethinking the design of education around 3 levels of knowledge and skills. What's the idea behind this layered approach?
This framework suggests structuring education to build understanding in a progressive way. The first level is foundational knowledge and skills.
The basics?
Exactly, the bedrock, the basic concepts, facts, theories, and fundamental principles of a subject. Think of learning the alphabet and basic grammar in language arts, or understanding basic mathematical operations.
Got it.
What's fascinating here, and you touched on it earlier, is that the source explicitly includes understanding how to learn metacognition as a crucial foundational skill.
Right, so it's not just about what you learn, but understanding how you learn best. That seems so important.
It's fundamental.
What are the other 2 levels then?
The second level is application knowledge and skills.
Right.
This is where you take that foundational knowledge and actually apply it to real-world situations.
Putting it to work.
Precisely. It involves problem solving, critical thinking, and being able to use what you've learned in practical scenarios. For example, writing a persuasive essay using those grammatical rules you learned, or solving real-world math problems using those basic operations.
Okay.
So it's moving beyond just knowing to actually doing.
Taking the theory and putting it into practice. Makes sense. And the third level?
The highest level is synthesizing knowledge and skills. This is where you combine both the foundational and applied knowledge to generate new insights, new ideas, new solutions.
So creation and innovation.
Yes, it's about critical thinking at a higher level, innovation, creation, perhaps developing a new style of writing, or devising a novel solution to a complex mathematical problem.
Wow.
The key takeaway here is that by integrating all 3 levels, students gain a much deeper, more nuanced understanding and are far better equipped to apply their learning effectively in the real world.
You mentioned metacognition earlier as a foundational skill, that understanding how to learn. The book goes into more detail on essential metacognitive skills, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Metacognition, at its core, is essentially thinking about your own thinking and actively monitoring your learning process.
Okay.
The source highlights several essential skills within this domain. First, there's self-assessment.
Knowing yourself.
Right, honestly evaluating your own knowledge and identifying areas where you need to improve. Then there's goal setting, specifically setting SMART goals, making sure your goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
SMART goals, yes. Very practical.
Very. Planning is also key, which involves creating a sort of roadmap for reaching your learning goals, including identifying the necessary resources and effective learning strategies. So it's about being strategic and self-aware as a learner.
That proactive approach seems vital for effective learning. What other metacognitive skills does the book highlight?
Monitoring your progress is another crucial skill, constantly checking how you're doing and making adjustments to your learning strategies as needed.
So, course correction.
Exactly. For example, if a particular study method isn't working, a metacognitively aware learner will recognize that and try a different approach.
Instead of just banging your head against the wall.
Precisely. And finally, there's reflection, which is taking the time to think about your learning experiences, identifying what worked well, what challenges you faced, and, importantly, using those insights to improve your future learning.
That seems really important, but often overlooked.
It often is. The source really emphasizes that educators who understand these skills are far better equipped to help students become more effective and efficient learners.
How so?
Well, they can personalize learning experiences to individual needs. They can foster a growth mindset where challenges are seen as opportunities to learn.
Instead failures.
Right. They can explicitly teach these metacognitive skills and ultimately support the development of crucial 21st century skills like adaptability and lifelong learning.
Now, this focus on how we think about our own thinking leads into a really interesting concept the book introduces, metacognitive dissonance. It sounds a bit like cognitive dissonance, but specifically related to our own thinking abilities.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. Metacognitive dissonance is that mental discomfort or conflict you experience when your beliefs or thoughts about your own thinking abilities are challenged or contradicted by new information or, importantly, your actual performance.
Okay.
It's essentially a form of cognitive dissonance, but specifically focused on how you perceive your own cognitive skills and knowledge. Think of it maybe as your brain's check engine light for your learning.
I like that analogy.
Paying attention to that discomfort can actually be the first step towards real breakthroughs.
Can you give us a clear example of how this might play out?
Sure. The source provides a great one. Imagine someone who strongly believes they are very skilled at understanding complex instructions. But then they repeatedly make errors when trying to follow a multi-step process. The dissonance arises between their belief in their comprehension skills and the reality of their mistakes.
Right, that disconnect.
Exactly. Another common example is someone who believes they have a fantastic memory, but then struggles to recall key information during an exam. The billboard example in the book about stroke awareness also illustrates this point powerfully. If someone lacks a foundational knowledge of what a stroke is, the instruction to call 911 at the first sign, while seemingly straightforward, it becomes essentially meaningless. It creates a void in understanding and a potential dissonance between the perceived simplicity of the instruction and the actual lack of comprehension.
That makes perfect sense. So this disconnect between our perception and reality can create this mental unease.
Yeah.
How do people typically respond to that feeling?
Well, the source explains that this discomfort can actually be a powerful motivator.
Really?
Yeah, it can prompt people to reevaluate their beliefs about their thinking and push themselves to improve their skills.
Okay, so it can be productive.
It can be. However, if the discomfort is too intense or prolonged, it can also lead to avoidance of challenging tasks, or a reluctance to engage with new information that might further contradict their existing beliefs about their cognitive abilities.
Right, you might just shut down.
You might. And what's a really critical point highlighted in the book is the suggestion that our current approaches to education might, in some instances, inadvertently be forcing us into the state of dissonance by creating a gap between our perceived understanding and our actual performance. This void, the book argues, can unfortunately be exploited or filled by things like misinformation or a tendency to follow the crowd, the herd mentality, as a way to resolve that uncomfortable mental conflict.
Wow. That's a really powerful insight. It highlights the importance of a solid foundation of knowledge and, well, a realistic understanding of our own abilities. Speaking of foundations, the book then pivots to the crucial role of reading, comprehension, and the ability to follow instructions. It frames these seemingly basic skills as absolutely essential for success in, well, all areas of life.
Absolutely essential. The source uses a compelling analogy. Imagine chaotic roads without traffic laws to really underscore the importance of these fundamental skills.
That's vivid.
Isn't it? It argues that they are vital for a multitude of reasons, starting with significantly improved communication.
Okay.
Reading widely exposes us to a broader vocabulary, enhances our understanding of grammar, and allows for more effective and nuanced self-expression. And that ultimately leads to a better ability to understand the perspectives of others. The book even draws a direct link between these skills and emotional, social, cultural, and overall general intelligence.
So it's not just about decoding words on a page. It has a much wider ripple effect on how we interact with the world and, with each other.
Precisely.
What about the skill of comprehension itself?
Well, enhanced comprehension, which is the ability to truly understand the meaning behind the words, sentences, and entire texts, leads to more coherent and logical thought processes, and a better ability to interpret complex information. The source emphasizes that strong comprehension is absolutely essential for navigating complex materials, making informed decisions in all aspects of life, and engaging with the world in a meaningful way.
And the flip side.
Conversely, low comprehension can create what the book starkly terms intellectual handicaps, really limiting an individual's potential and opportunities.
That's a powerful phrase. It really drives home the significance. And finally, the often underestimated ability to follow instructions effectively.
Ah, yes. That skill is directly linked to increased productivity and efficiency, both in our personal lives and in professional settings.
How so?
Accurately and efficiently following instructions helps in completing tasks correctly the first time, minimizing errors, saving time and resources, and just boosting overall effectiveness.
Yeah, avoids a lot of rework.
Definitely. In essence, these three skills, reading, comprehension, and following instructions, are presented in the book as foundational not only for academic success, but for improved learning in general, excelling in various aspects of life, quickly absorbing new information, and developing crucial critical thinking skills that contribute to personal growth and informed decision-making.
It's quite sobering, then, to consider the far-reaching consequences when these foundational literacy skills are lacking. The book describes this as a multi-layer handicap experience. Can you elaborate on what that entails?
Yeah, the source paints a really challenging picture of the obstacles faced by individuals with low literacy. It highlights limited job opportunities as a primary consequence.
Makes sense.
As many employers require a certain level of literacy for even entry-level positions, difficulty in communication often leads to frequent frustration, misunderstandings in personal and professional interactions, and even social isolation. It really is. There's also a significant impact on self-confidence and self-esteem, often leading to feelings of inadequacy and negatively affecting overall mental well-being. Furthermore, access to essential information becomes severely limited. Think about understanding current events, educational resources, or crucial documents related to healthcare, finances, legal matters.
All the important stuff.
All the important stuff. This can severely restrict participation in everyday activities and, tragically, can increase stress levels and vulnerability to manipulation and exploitation.
Wow.
The book really emphasizes that overcoming this intellectual darkness, as it calls it, often requires significant and sustained external support.
It truly underscores how fundamental literacy is to navigating and participating fully in modern society. Now, the book delves into the various causes of illiteracy. It's clearly a multifaceted and complex issue, not just one thing.
Indeed, very complex. The source outlines several interconnected factors. Lack of access to quality education is a primary cause, often stemming from factors like poverty, geographic isolation in remote areas.
Right. Cultural barriers that might prioritize other pursuits over formal schooling, or even inadequate government policies and funding for education.
So systemic issues, too.
Absolutely. Poverty itself is a huge contributing factor, often forcing children into labor to support their families, which prevents them from attending school.
Yeah, the cycle of poverty.
Exactly. Cultural barriers related to gender, race, ethnicity, religion. These can also unjustly restrict educational opportunities for certain groups. Then you have learning disabilities like dyslexia and other cognitive challenges, which present another significant hurdle.
Of course.
Migration and displacement can disrupt education and create significant language barriers. And even health issues like malnutrition and chronic diseases can impact cognitive development and the ability to effectively engage in learning.
So many potential factors.
Yes. The key takeaway here is the deeply complex and multifaceted nature of illiteracy, demanding comprehensive and integrated solutions that address these various underlying causes. Given this complexity, how do we even begin to understand the scope of the problem and, track progress? The book discusses the importance of measuring literacy.
Measurement is absolutely crucial. As the source rightly states, we can fix or repair only what we can measure.
Makes sense. You need data.
You need data. It outlines several different methods used to assess literacy levels. You have standardized tests like the NAAL in the US or PIAAC internationally, which provide a broad, comparable measure of skills.
Okay.
There's self-reporting through surveys, which gives a general overview, but, might be biased.
Sure.
Functional literacy assessments go beyond basics to evaluate applying skills in real-life situations, like understanding instructions or filling out forms.
More practical.
Yes. Observational assessments look at literacy in real-life contexts. And then informal assessments, like analyzing conversations or writing samples, give valuable qualitative insights.
So different tools for different purposes.
Exactly. The choice depends on the specific goals. But the fundamental ability to accurately measure literacy is a foundational step in effectively tackling the challenge.
That makes logical sense. You need a baseline and a way to track improvement. The book then delves into the concept of functional literacy and the really crucial role that teachers play in fostering it. What's the key distinction between just being literate and being functionally literate?
That's a great question. Functional literacy goes significantly beyond simply being able to decode words and write basic sentences.
Yeah.
It's about the ability to use those fundamental literacy skills effectively in practical real-life situations to navigate the complexities of modern society.
So applying it.
Applying it. This includes understanding written instructions, accurately filling out forms, reading labels, using technology that relies on literacy, communicating clearly in writing.
Right.
And crucially, it also involves critical thinking, being able to analyze written information, evaluate its credibility, and apply it to solve problems or make informed decisions in everyday contexts. The source emphasizes that functional literacy is absolutely essential for active and meaningful participation in modern society. It impacts everything from employment and personal finances to healthcare, lifelong learning, and active civic participation.
So it's really about being able to actively engage with and understand the world around you through literacy in a practical way.
Precisely.
And how do teachers play a pivotal role in developing this in learners?
Well, the source stresses that effective teachers need a strong understanding of the underlying principles of how people learn.
Okay, the science of learning.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It highlights several key concepts. First, learning is an active and constructive process where learners actively engage with new material and build their own understanding by connecting it to their prior knowledge.
Makes sense.
Second, it emphasizes the social aspect of learning, the importance of collaboration, interaction with peers, receiving constructive feedback.
Learning together.
The book then introduces Bloom's taxonomy as a really helpful and standard model for defining educational goals and assessing learning outcomes.
Bloom's, yeah, I remember that.
Right. This taxonomy outlines 6 different cognitive levels, progressing from remembering basic facts to understanding concepts, applying knowledge, analyzing information, evaluating its merit, and ultimately creating something new.
The pyramid structure.
That's the one. This hierarchical model provides a valuable framework for educators to develop learning objectives and design assessments that progressively build students' cognitive skills and knowledge, fostering that deeper level of functional literacy.
Now, for adults who might be returning to education or learning new skills later in life, the book discusses specific adult education strategies. These learners often come with unique experiences and needs, right?
Absolutely. Adult education specifically caters to individuals beyond traditional school age and recognizes their diverse backgrounds, motivations, life circumstances. It's a different ballgame.
Definitely.
The source lists several common and effective strategies. It starts with the importance of needs assessment, really tailoring programs to what adult learners actually need and want.
Makes sense. Start where they are.
Exactly. A learner-centered approach is crucial, valuing their prior experiences. Experiential learning, learning by doing, is often particularly effective.
Hands-on.
Yes. Collaborative learning fosters peer support. Blended learning, mixing online and in person, and flexible options help accommodate busy schedules.
Flexibility is key for adults.
Hugely important. Prior learning assessment and recognition, or PLAR, acknowledges skills gained outside formal education. Problem-based learning engages adults in real-world challenges. Mentoring and coaching provide individual guidance, and personalized learning plans cater to individual goals and styles.
Lots of strategies there.
There are. And the book also makes a really vital point about the emotional hurdles adult learners might face: anxieties, feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, that fear of going back.
Exactly. It emphasizes the critical need for teachers and facilitators to be patient, respectful, and create a really supportive learning environment.
And a really key aspect of adult education seems to be helping learners figure out their direction. The book talks about the importance of defining life objectives.
That's absolutely right. The source astutely points out that it's incredibly difficult to solve challenges or reach goals that you can't even clearly envision.
True. Hard to hit a target you can't see.
Precisely. It outlines several valuable strategies to help adult learners define coherent, meaningful life objectives. This includes effective goal setting, SMART goals again, thorough self-assessment to identify strengths, weaknesses, values, interests, a process of values clarification to align goals with core beliefs, exploration of career paths, building support networks, and creating detailed action plans.
Practical steps.
Yes. Ultimately, it's about helping these learners identify their own compelling and personal why for pursuing education and new skills, finding that internal motivation.
Connecting those deep personal goals to the learning process must be a powerful source of motivation, yeah.
Immensely powerful.
The book also touches on the idea of incorporating mission, vision, and values into learning objectives. How can those personal guiding principles be integrated into education?
Well, by encouraging learners to articulate their own personal mission statement, reflecting their core values and purpose, and a clear vision statement outlining their long-term aspirations.
Okay.
Educators can help them forge a really strong connection between their educational pursuits and these deeply held principles.
Making it personal.
Exactly. This alignment can be further strengthened by actively considering their values when setting specific educational goals and reflecting on how their learning journey contributes to their overall mission and vision.
I see.
Individualized learning plans that explicitly incorporate these elements can significantly increase a learner's motivation, engagement, and overall satisfaction with the learning process, making it feel much more personally meaningful and relevant.
So it's about making education a deeply personal and purposeful journey, not just checking boxes.
That's the ideal, yes.
Finally, the book addresses the critical aspect of measuring success in teaching and learning. How do we effectively determine if education is actually achieving its intended goals and, making a real impact?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The source outlines several key strategies. Regular assessment through various methods like tests, quizzes, projects, presentations is fundamental.
The usual suspects.
Right, but important. Using clear, well-defined rubrics helps establish explicit expectations and provides a consistent framework for evaluation.
So everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Gathering feedback from learners through surveys and open discussions offers valuable insights into their experiences and the effectiveness of teaching methods.
Listening to the learners.
Crucial. Encouraging reflection and self-assessment empowers learners to evaluate their own progress. Program evaluation involves a more comprehensive assessment of the overall effectiveness of programs and curricula.
Taking a step back, looking at the whole picture.
And finally, following up with learners after they complete their education can help gauge the long-term impact on their lives and careers.
The real-world results.
Yes. The book concludes by highlighting that truly effective teachers are not only highly competent in their subject matter, but also possess a strong degree of emotional maturity, enabling them to create supportive and effective learning environments.
That makes sense.
Employing these diverse measurement strategies allows educators to ensure objectives are being met and to continuously strive for improvement.
This has been an incredibly comprehensive and a really insightful deep dive into the fundamental importance of education. To kind of bring it all together, what would you say is the most critical message that we should take away from this exploration?
The central message, I think, without a doubt, is that education is so much more than just the acquisition of facts and figures.
Right.
It is the lifelong process of developing the essential skills, cultivating the right mindset, and gaining the deep understanding necessary not only for a fulfilling and successful individual life, but also for building a more informed, engaged, and thriving society for everyone. It is truly, as the title suggests, the key to unlocking a better future, both personally and collectively.
That's a powerful and inspiring thought. Considering all the different facets of education we've discussed today, the pillars, the skills, the challenges, what's one area that you believe holds the most potential for positive impact if given, say, greater attention in our educational systems and maybe in our own personal learning journeys?
That's a tough choice, but if I had to pick one, I would emphasize the continuous cultivation of those metacognitive skills we talked about.
Thinking about thinking.
Exactly. By explicitly teaching individuals how to understand their own learning processes, how to set effective goals, monitor their progress, and reflect on their experiences, we empower them to become more effective, adaptable, and importantly, lifelong learners.
Yeah.
This foundational ability truly underpins success in pretty much all other areas of education and life. It fosters a sense of agency and ideally a love for learning that extends far beyond any classroom.
That's a really profound point to end on. It certainly makes you think about your own approach to learning and how you can become a more conscious and effective learner yourself. Thank you so much for sharing these valuable insights today.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
And to you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked some new perspectives on the power and importance of education in shaping a better life and a brighter future. Go forth and continue to explore the incredible journey of learning.